So I was a pharmacist in the UK in London, and that was for about 6 years. And then I moved to Germany. So I went online and I thought, okay, what can I do with my medical skills that I can do remotely? And so that turned out to be medical writing and also medical video creation as well. What scared me through starting medical videos was that I felt like I didn't know what I was doing. I then started working with an online doctor through an online freelance platform, and I had never heard of search engine optimization before, and I realized that that's how the internet works.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Want to attract and convert more leads? Want to learn how digital PR, branding, and SEO can establish and build your brand identity? Welcome to the Market Movers Building Brands and Links with Linkify podcast. We answer these questions and help you ramp up your brand visibility and credibility. Let's cut through the noise and make your business the talk of the town. We're your hosts, Nick and Chris. Let's get this show on the road.
Welcome to the show. On this episode of Market Movers, we're joined by Virginia Chachati, a pharmacist, medical copywriter, and creator of accessible health content. She's worked with the NHS, World Health Organization, and YouTube Health, building a global community that helps healthcare professionals and scientists master medical writing and digital content. Welcome to the show, Virginia.
Thank you so much. It's really nice to be here.
It's great to have you on. To kick things off, why don't you give us a little bit of info on your background and how you got into medical marketing?
Yeah, thank you so much for the introduction. So I was a pharmacist in the UK in London, and that was for about 6 years. And then I moved to Germany because my husband got a job here in 2020. And so I had to find remote work because it was that time that we all remember. And there was also, I couldn't speak German. So I went online and I thought, okay, what can I do with my medical skills that I can do remotely and I don't have to be in a pharmacy physically like I'm used to. And so that turned out to be medical writing and also medical video creation as well. And so what scared me through starting medical videos was that I felt like I didn't know what I was doing or what the rules were about posting content on the internet. So I was like, let's do the writing first, because surely the writing is the more important part. If you learn the regulations, then you'll be more successful. So I then started working with an online doctor through an online freelance platform. And I had never heard of search engine optimization before. And I realized that that's how the internet works. So keywords, where you put them, how people find them, and then also how easy it is to understand the information that you've put on the page. So I got into writing for online doctors, and then I worked at a medical communications agency who also had some online doctors to work with as well and as clients. And then I worked with a team of medical writers to work for a hospital who wanted a free refurbishment of their website, and that was the London Clinic. And then we actually won an award for user experience for that website, which is great. So then I started helping other medical writers learn about medical writing. So it was mainly healthcare professionals and scientists who wanted to become medical writers, and so I started creating courses about things that I learned, and that helped to reinforce what I was learning at the time. And then it's so interesting how much medical writing has got so much more kind of a bigger platform than it used to have. So it was relatively unknown about 5 years ago. Now there's a lot more talk about it, a lot more people are getting into it, and there's a wider variety of things you can do as a medical writer, whereas traditionally it was more publications and working with pharmaceutical companies. But now there's the internet and there's a lot more interest in like social media and websites and reaching people where they are. So also leaflets, easy read guides, videos, and that kind of thing. So that's how I got started, and I've built a community around that as well.
Oh, that's awesome. What a great success story, from just needing to find remote work to really finding something that matched your skills and passion. And I've got so many questions as well about the content writing. But before we get into that, tell us about the current SEO landscape. Obviously, some medical sites have been completely wiped out. Others haven't been affected at all. What's the current state of play from what you're seeing?
So what I'm seeing is if you have a generic question that's been asked 100 times before, there is no point answering that question again unless you can do it significantly better, or you can find a collection of experts to comment on it and if anything has changed again significantly. So, for example, if there is a treatment that you recommend for something and you, for example, want to make a page called paracetamol, how to take paracetamol, that's been done forever. There's probably no change to it, so don't do that. What I'm finding now is that the more niche you go, the better, because people really want expertise, and the only people who have expertise are the people who have studied that area of health. So, for example, on my Pharmacist Virginia YouTube channel, I wanted to kind of test this theory. And so I thought, okay, let's try and find a gap on a topic that I know really well that nobody really talks about, and the current content looks kind of terrible. So that was magnesium sulfate paste. And so this is something that is unbranded in the pharmacy, relatively cheap, pretty useful to have in your first aid kit. And the only videos that existed were people who were using it for like makeup or pimples or something, like not medical. And so I was like, okay, I need to sort this problem out. So I decided to put in a lot of effort, many hours, making just the best possible video. But the point was that it was easy for people to understand. And then also I made sure that it was easy to follow by asking questions in the script and then answering them in a short, concise way so that people can just get the answer they need quickly. Because I think when it comes to health, you don't really want to read a 5-page story or have a 20-minute video on it. But if you have a 20-minute video that answers 50 questions, then you're probably going to click that one, and then you can just click the bit that you want to watch. And so now I can become the authority on that topic, which is magnesium sulfate paste, which I don't think people would want to compete with me on that topic.
You got to tell us what it's for now. I'm intrigued.
I was going to ask that.
So it's a drawing agent. So if you get a splinter and you can't quite like pick it out with tweezers, then you just put a lump of that paste on you, and then you can put a plaster on it, and you do that 2 or 3 times per day for about 2 or 3 days, and then eventually it will just slowly suck it out of your skin. But if the splinter is deeper than that, then the magnesium sulfate paste won't work and you need to see a doctor. And most of the time, if it's much deeper than that, then they'll have to think, do you need surgery? Is it bothering you? Is it causing you pain? That kind of thing. And then some people use it if like they have an ingrown toenail and they've got a collection of stuff they want to get out from under the skin. Then you can put some paste on top of that, and that helps to give you relief and get rid of the pressure on the nail as well. So that's what it's for. And again, the main point is that it's coming from a healthcare professional. So there is a really kind of big need that if you are doing anything which is search engine optimized, it must be coupled with some kind of expertise. So I don't think that's a drastic change, but I think there's a bigger need for it. And so healthcare professionals are definitely going to be sought, or other health experts as well. So you can have people who have PhDs or other expertise. Yeah.
So I think this was a major thing from the helpful content update, where there's a lot of sites that were putting out medical content. They didn't have the expertise to actually talk about it. So I think everyone really does understand this, but does it have to be written from the expert, or can it be reviewed by the expert? Like what is like the minimum you need to have in order to have a legitimate shot of ranking or getting traffic for content?
Yeah, so I would say as a minimum, it needs to be reviewed by an expert. And I would say what I've seen is people are asking for more quotes from healthcare professionals so that you've got at least some direct text from the person if you don't want them to write the whole thing. And I would say that also it's really important to have an expiry date or a review date on your content as well, because sometimes you'll have health content which has no date on it, and so you don't know when was the last time someone looked at this and actually said, yes, this is still true, or no, there's new research that has come out now. And so, for example, on the NHS pages, the hay fever page was reviewed recently, and now there's a video of me that was shot by the NHS on the hay fever page on the NHS, and that page gets I think it gets 1 view every 6 seconds in high season of hay fever. And so people are looking for high authority sources of information, and they didn't usually have an actual healthcare expert on their page on the NHS, but now they are making videos to have experts in video form on the page. And they always have a review date at the bottom of the page of all of their content. And it's part of their content guidelines as well. So if you are writing something, at least have like a picture, just so people can visually see, yes, this is a real person, a good quality picture. And then also their credentials as well. So their name, maybe their license number, and a link to the register. So you can actually check if they're still registered as a healthcare professional. So yeah, I always tell people, I'm a registered healthcare professional. I'm a UK pharmacist. I'm registered with the GPHC. You can actually go and look up my name on the register. Having that authority backed by an official body is important.
Yeah, that's it's almost like not common sense, but like we've seen good sites do this for a while now. So I suppose it's expected. One question in terms of smaller brands competing with larger brands around very competitive and fast-paced changing medications. So let's talk about like the weight loss drugs, the injections that are out now. There's new stuff coming out every 5 minutes. It cures this, it does that, it kills you on this. It's like you can't keep up with it. Can smaller brands rank for informational queries around these sorts of things, or is it going to be the larger brands dominating those more direct keywords, and it's only the longer tail searches that smaller brands can? What's your view on all of that?
Yeah, so I would say the longer tail keywords are better strategically to target if you're a smaller brand. And I would also say if you don't want to put the biography of the expert or whoever has reviewed your page, then you can actually give them a dedicated page on your website so people can go and view all the articles that were reviewed by that expert. And I think that's a really powerful way to say we're really transparent about all the experts that we've got, and then you can actually go and see who they are, check their credentials and things like that. I think what might be a problem for smaller brands is they will just try and get any doctor. But you need to think about the level of expertise that person has. So don't just get a doctor and try and get them to cover every other topic, not just weight loss, maybe other things too. Try to have dedicated doctors for dedicated topics. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. And I think that gives them more expertise and authority in that topic as well. Because if you have a doctor that's an expert in everything, I know there are GPs and things, but even in the kind of healthcare content creator scene, usually you'll be known for a specific topic. So for me, for example, that is first aid and also travel health and vaccines. And that's what I talk about all the time. I stay very far away from prescription-only medicines because I think there's just too much to debate. And also social listening is really important as well. So if you have an email list of people that you know are really interested in weight loss products or services, then you should actually survey them and ask them what specific questions they have. And I do that with my own audience. So I know that my audience has sent in all of these questions about medical writing, for example, and now I have over 200 questions that I can answer directly on my YouTube channel or as a LinkedIn post or wherever. And I think it's so important to try and tailor your content to your specific audience and always ask them questions, because not only will that make you look like you really want to help them, but second, it builds a really good relationship with them. So sometimes it's not about creating the content, it's about making sure that you are creating content for your specific audience. So big brands will have obviously an advantage because they've got a bigger audience, but I'm sure that they segment their audience as well. And so if you're a smaller brand, make sure that the audience you do have, you're asking them questions regularly and you're serving them directly. Because the best thing that I like is actually having a quote from someone and saying, well, this person asked this question, and reading out exactly how they wrote it, because then it's come from a real person and they're real human words as well. And people really like that.
I think that's much better than we found this in Ahrefs and now we're going to write a post on it. Like, you already know your audience is asking for it. Okay, so you've talked about your YouTube channel. I know that's a big focus for you. You just talked about LinkedIn posts as well. For healthcare brands, what is the best opportunity right now? Is there a platform that you think is underutilized? I think we tend to focus heavily on like blogging when we talk about SEO, but that's only one really small part of being discovered. So what platforms are you focusing on? Which ones do you think are underutilized?
I think LinkedIn and YouTube are the most underutilized, but that's probably because they are quite difficult to be consistent on, because it can be a lot slower than other platforms and you can't really pay to win like you can on Instagram and Facebook. And so I think also the data you get and the audience segmentation on LinkedIn and YouTube is much more limited. So it's a bit more of an unknown, a bit more risky for startups, I think. And so I think that's why I've seen a lot of creators, or even businesses. So sometimes creators are attached to their own business. So maybe they'll have a clinic or something that they want to create content around. And so they'll go on Instagram and they'll find that they get limited views because there are already really, really big brands on there that they just can't compete with. So your visibility is going to be really low, and it really is pay to win, in my opinion, anyway. And I've definitely found that I've got more consistent views and a stronger community through building on LinkedIn and YouTube. And strategically, that's where I went, because I thought, okay, no one's really here, which means that I'll have more visibility, but I do need to be consistent and make sure that the quality of my content is really high and really credible and also speaks to the audience as well. And it's much easier to engage with people, especially on LinkedIn, because you know who you're engaging with. So everyone has a professional profile. And so if you're a startup and you're looking for investments, or you're looking for kind of, B2B business, then LinkedIn is the place to be. Do not waste your time on Instagram and Facebook, in my opinion. And YouTube, I would say you don't actually need to post that much. But what you do post needs to be something that is going to be useful to your ideal client or your ICP. And so I would say if you use YouTube, having a long video that actually details either what you do, why you're doing it, or your products, services, offers, that's so valuable. And that's some of the things that I post on my YouTube channel is mostly, I've created this course because of this reason, or here's how to do this. And if you want me to review your writing, then I've got a course, or contact me, or book a consult, or something like that. So people want to see you in a video, or they want to be able to read kind of long, detailed pieces of writing about you, why you do what you do, especially on LinkedIn. I think the engagement on LinkedIn is really strong. So even if you get like 10 likes on a post, you might get like 5 leads from that, because it's very, very tailored to the audience that's on there. Whereas I think Instagram and Facebook are more like entertainment platforms. So if your audience is in the entertainment industry, then definitely go there. But if you're more in like healthcare, I would say LinkedIn and YouTube is probably more visibility, and you've got a potential for a stronger knit community. And I've definitely seen more healthcare people on LinkedIn. And yeah, so that would be my advice. Get good at writing as well.
Yeah, for sure. You didn't mention TikTok. Is TikTok a viable platform, or is that more for like the weight loss, teeth whitening? Is that a legitimate platform for, other health brands?
Okay, so I will say that TikTok is great if you are looking for a kind of teenage to 40-year-old, maybe a bit older kind of age range. And I would say that it's very competitive, and it's not like what it used to be. So the visibility now is a lot lower. There is an opportunity to go viral. So I had one video get 30,000 views, one get 80,000, and then one popped off and it got like 610,000 views. And it's really great for kind of doing a bit of a water test on your ideas. So just getting people to interact with your content. So that video that went viral with 600,000 views was a couple of weeks ago. And that really gave me an insight into what people think about vaccines and when they're traveling and things like that. And so it's a fantastic little piece of data, but also realize that that audience is on that platform. And so if you answer those questions and you put those videos on other platforms, they might not perform as well, because that audience isn't there, it's somewhere else. And so I would say TikTok is good for experimenting and if you want to just put things out there. And all videos eventually will be indexed by Google. So I would say that my YouTube and TikTok videos tend to be indexed a lot faster than my Instagram and Facebook. So I think Instagram and Facebook are still like figuring it out. But TikTok has some SEO opportunities, but your audience might not necessarily be there. And also the engagement on TikTok, again, it will depend on the type of content that you put out there. So I would say it's good to get going, but I would say that it's probably another kind of pay to win kind of platform. So I would lump it in with Instagram and Facebook. So yeah.
As a type 1 diabetic, I have to be very careful on TikTok because sometimes I am intrigued by the type 1 diabetes related content. But if I click on it and dwell on it for too long, it messes up my algorithm and then I stop seeing funny cat videos, which is what I want to see on TikTok. But what I notice is it's dominated by it's certainly my feed is dominated by non-professional medical people and it's experience. So it's people living with type 1 diabetes. They're talking about the latest tracking things that they're using. They're talking about their upcoming travels and how they need to bulk order their insulin and it's not professionally medically trained people. Is that a common theme across content that does well on TikTok and possibly a reason why brands are less suited to that platform?
Yeah, so I would say that TikTok is probably like the marketplace of social media. But not in the sense where people are selling stuff. It's where people are chatting to each other. So it's very much more social compared to Instagram and Facebook, and probably more social than LinkedIn, where LinkedIn feels a bit like you have to put on a bit of a front because you have to be really professional, and it feels like you're being judged all the time. And YouTube is a little bit like, I don't know who I'm interacting with because it's just a bit of a, every person that comments might not even have a YouTube channel. They're just a user of YouTube. And so I would say TikTok is much more social, which is why it's great for like user testing or testing out ideas. But it's very, I would say it's very addictive. So you can spend hours on there. You can be like, okay, I've posted a video, but let me just have a look at what's going on. And I would say, yeah, people are telling each other things and people will take their word for it. So they're less likely to question what they're told on TikTok. But I would say that your content doesn't last very long on TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook compared to on LinkedIn or YouTube. So you've got a bit of a longer shelf life on those other platforms. And I've definitely experienced that, I get consistent views or consistent kind of inquiries through LinkedIn and YouTube compared to the other ones. Yeah. So TikTok is more like a life commentary compared to business. But if you have something to advertise, you have to be really strategic about it on TikTok. It needs to look like organic content. So you need to be speaking to the camera, probably a bit more rough around the edges. And I would say that's probably why my video worked, because I use the format that's quite popular on TikTok. I mean, the viral video that worked, which is where I just dress up as two different characters and people expect entertainment, but I gave them education. But the other thing is language is really important. So if you are speaking to people in a way that they are easily going to understand, that piece of content is more likely to work across all platforms rather than trying to sound smart or technical. So sounding smart or technical is great for LinkedIn and YouTube because you have time to explain and people are there to give you your attention. Whereas on other places, you definitely want to keep it as simple as possible. And so my conversational videos where I dress up as characters take a lot longer, but they do sometimes get those 10,000 or 100,000 of views. And that's the whole point. That's the whole
You
reason.
got 600,000, was it? That's nice. I got one viral video on TikTok.
Sure.
I got 4.2 million views, and it was me parking a car in Thailand. Nothing to do with my business, no leads, pointless.
But he's so proud of it. It's on his resume now.
I'm so proud of it.
You should be proud. Next time, park the car while educating them. So you know what they like watching. You just got to merge the two. So you've got a good format. You should definitely capitalize on it.
Talk about digital PR as you're parking their car.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I want to talk about AI. I think we're seeing some industries are being completely transformed by AI. Some are like, it doesn't apply to us at all. How are you thinking about this, particularly about like discovery from AI, LLMs, ChatGPT? What are you seeing right now?
So I'm seeing that people are a bit worried that AI is going to start making people write a lot of misinformation. And I would say that AI summaries are not fantastically accurate, especially in the health world right now. So there's a lot of resistance to using AI to generate content, and anything that is generated tends to be edited or fact checked by someone who knows what they're talking about. It can be used for idea generation. Some people use it for research, so they're trying to see what's out there right now. Maybe they're trying to identify content gaps and, use that for their SEO strategy. And I would say that some people are using it to train LLMs to actually write future content. So they want medical writers to actually train the style or the way that they use words so that it matches the audience that they're trying to serve. So whether that is scientists or healthcare professionals or patients and the public. So they are looking for people to train it. And I would say that AI could possibly replace some types of medical writing, but because healthcare is moving all the time, like you said, with the weight loss medications, there's always new information coming out. Anything that you train an AI to write about, you'll always have to fact check because it's probably going to expire within a few years anyway. So I would say that writers can keep their jobs. There will always need to be fact checking. And I think, creating frameworks and templates and things like that is great and they all exist, but it's whether or not your audience actually responds to that type of information. That's what matters. So you could do the perfect piece of writing, but if no one understands it, then did it really perform? Or did anybody actually decide to, register for your webinar or go and book an appointment or anything like that? So I think it's being tested right now by a lot of companies, and I'm actually seeing the end of the wave where people are not being hired because AI could do the job, and then them now realizing that AI is not that great and they need real people to check everything. And so the output will only be as good as the input for AI, I think, ultimately. So it's not true artificial intelligence.
Right.
And it's moving so fast as well, like you said, that it's got to be one of the last bastions of true skill, not only to write something that explains to an audience what it means, but if a new study comes out or they've created something which is going to affect how type 1 diabetics use X, Y, and Z. You've got to understand that, interpret the data or the study behind it, and then produce a piece of content which explains exactly what's been said to. And as somebody who absorbs and uses medical writing as a type 1, then it's nice to know that that's probably going to be in safe human hands for a while longer. My question, though, from the non-writing side, but from the actual discovery side, do you feel that AI is going to be impacting health brands on how it is that they're discovered? And if so, what are they doing in order to make sure that they are visible inside of the LLMs as well as, traditional search?
Yeah, so I think it comes down to, do you have authority to talk about that topic, and have you created enough content from different angles or for a specific audience to actually surface on AI summaries, for example? So there were a collection of charities, for example, who said, we haven't got people clicking on our website and we depend on people clicking on our website because then they make donations to the health charity. And they said AI is kind of taking those clicks because it's just summarizing information and people are just accepting it, and hardly any people will click through to go and see the source of information. And so I would say that to surface on AI summaries, you need to get really specific about what you are trying to tell people in terms of the questions you're answering, and also answering them directly. So you don't really have room for fluff and making sure that it's coming from a credible source as well. So you can actually cite references, or you can say, we had an expert person review this and that kind of thing. So I would say try to make sure the structure of your pages is really easy to understand. So I'm a real stickler for headings. So I'm just like, please use hierarchy of, H1, H2, H3. It's so important to make sure that you're giving people relevant information and you're also digesting it for them so that they can skim it, because that's what the AI is going to do. It's going to try and skim all the information it has and produce a result for the person as quickly as possible. Otherwise, the person won't be satisfied and they won't use AI, and AI doesn't want to not be used. So I would say make your content as easy to use as possible, and content design plays a lot into that as well. So headings, bullet points, and making sure you are, taking out quote boxes. You've got experts where relevant and things like that.
I think some of the things you mentioned earlier will be extremely important going forward. Like you've talked about really focusing on something specific, becoming an expert on that. That's things I'm seeing AI quote. They are looking for who's an actual expert in this area. You talked about YouTube. We know that that's a huge source of training data. So you have sort of two areas when LLMs are like making recommendations. They have a mode where they go and search the web and they're pulling live data. And then they also, for a lot of questions, they will rely on their training data. And so a lot of that training data comes from YouTube. So I think some of the things you mentioned are just a fantastic focus. Like really focus on your specialty, become an expert in that, produce unique data. YouTube content's great. Data studies on your site. As the models are retrained, they'll process that information. You start to move up the ladder, becoming more of an authority. So I think that's probably a really great focus going forward. And the good thing is like this isn't something that's like. These are brand building things. These are things you probably should do anyway. They're not just like far out strategies. So I think that's something people should be feel comforted about, because there's a lot of fear on like AI is going to destroy my business. This is what's going to happen. But there's a lot of things we can be doing, and those things are going to help us grow. And I think in all areas, in Google and your reputation. So I think people should feel pretty good about that.
Virginia, it's been fantastic having you on. If people want to find you, hire you, rack your brains, where can they go?
So they can go to my website, which is virginiachachati.com, and I'll give you the link so you can put it in the video description down below. And also on LinkedIn as well, if you want to connect with me there. And I have a link tree, so even if you want to just send me a message directly, you can do that through my link tree, or you can go to my contact me page on my website. So my email address is hello@virginiachachati.com as well. So yeah, I'm pretty easy and I'm pretty quick to respond if you do try to contact me.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much for being such a great guest. Thank you, Virginia.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the invitation. I had a lovely time, and thank you so much, Nick and Chris.
Thank you.